Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on how to be a thought leader in your field. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator today and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. I'm going to be your host, and our presenter is Sue Yasav, who you can see on the screen. More on Sue in just a minute, but first some brief information on SCORE. If I could ask you to move the slide, please. SCORE is a nonprofit national partner of the SBA, and locally here at SCORE Fairfield County, we have over 130 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. And we offer three primary value-added services to small business owners. First of all, we offer free one-on-one counseling, which you can get by video, telephone, or email, and you can access that by either clicking using the yellow bit.ly link on the screen, or you can go to our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, and click on the Request a Mentor link. Secondly, we offer a wide range of educational workshops and webinars, about 150 throughout the year. And lastly, we offer extensive resources on our website, including access to subject matter experts, along with tools and information. Our next live webinar will be next Tuesday, March 30th at noon, and the topic is More Clients, Less Marketing, Create More Leads and Income by Doing Less, with Mary Kravitz presenting. You can find more specifics on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, and we also on our website have a large number of archived webinars that you can access on demand, and those webinars cover a wide range of business topics. Just some useful logistics on today's event. We have set aside lots of time for questions at the end of the presentation. And if you have a question, you can use the chat window at any time during the webinar. And to access the chat window, hover on the bottom of your screen, just click on the chat icon and you can type your question in, and Sue will take them all at the end. We will end our webinar sharply at 1 o'clock to respect your time. This session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be available on our website within the next 48 hours or so. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Sue Yasav. Sue is the CEO of Marquette Marketing, specializing in thought leadership and content strategy. Previously, Sue launched the thought leadership function at Synchrony, promoting it as an expert in the payments and retail fields. Sue has published over 30 white papers, infographics, and digital media on topics such as loyalty, artificial intelligence, and biotechnology, reaching over 500,000 readers. In addition, she has presented at dozens of conferences, webinars, and podcasts on thought leadership and content strategy. Sue, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Bob, and thank you to SCORE. I have a very warm place in my heart for SCORE. I've had a SCORE mentor for 2.5 years, and I think it's a wonderful program. So I hope that the attendees get a lot out of this, and please do let me know, again, through the chat at the end if you have any questions. So to get started, here we go. Let's start with a definition of thought leadership. Ordinarily, you don't see a lot of people saying that they are the vice president of thought leadership. It's not a job description that you see out there very often. And really, it's more of an evolutionary process, right? Generally, people don't say they are thought leaders, and I don't say I am a thought leader. I create thought leaders and help businesses get known as thought leaders in their field. So first, let's start with a definition of thought leadership. I tend to talk fast, so I'm going to try to slow it down a little bit. A thought leader, if you look up the definition, is an individual or firm that's recognized as an authority in your specialized field. And this expertise is sought after and is rewarded. So it's not just to look smart or feel smart. It's actually, there is a business reason to strive to be a thought leader in your field of expertise. So thought leaders, continuing on the definition, are commonly asked to speak at public events, conferences, or webinars to share their insight with a relevant audience. And the importance of doing this, of course, is that you expand your population of people that you speak to, you expand your audience, you get known as a subject matter expert, and as a result, you are rewarded for being known as that thought leader in your industry. So again, why be a thought leader? They're sought after. People listen to their opinions and value their opinions. Your content gets shared and distributed easily. There's media attention, which is, of course, free advertising. You get quoted in the media. You may get asked for interviews, media interviews. And as a result, you pay less for marketing your business, and new clients come easily. They see you as a subject matter expert in your field. I want to talk about some common thought leaders we see out there. Some are more natural thought leaders, others unusual to see a person in this industry, in this role, be viewed as a thought leader. So let's start with Elon Musk. As we know, CEO of Tesla. He has been a controversial figure. He is not always liked, right? But if you think of the CEO of a car company being a thought leader, that's a little unusual, right? He has taken that position and he is often listened to, but we don't often think, oh, let's go to the CEO of a car company for thought leadership on innovation, right? So he's carved that role for himself. Next, Ariana Huffington has reinvented herself several times. I think she started as a journalist, and some would say she's an activist. She has also created Huffington Post. She has created, after Huffington Post, a repository for women's self-care, the Thrive industry. So she has reinvented herself several times and really staked the claim in thought leadership. The next one, Seth Godin, I think he has a lot of, very impactful, bold statements that he makes. I've seen him speak. He's a wonderful speaker, and he's just very innovative in what he says and how he says it. And the last one is Reshma, I can't say her name, Saujani, and she is the CEO of Girls Who Code. Now, she basically took a concept that we have had for a long time, getting girls into innovation fields and coding, and she has created a brand from that, a positioning from that. So it wasn't a new concept. She took the concept and through positioning has made thought leadership out of it. And she has become known as a thought leader in that area, Girls Who Code. So these are just some examples. Thought leaders are not just Harvard professors or people who publish in the Harvard Business Review. They come from a wide variety of backgrounds. So we need to expand our definition of who is a thought leader and why we want to become thought leaders. So here's the data. Longitude did a research study on why becoming a thought leader is so important for your brand. They asked CEOs, what impact does thought leadership have on their perception or understanding of a brand? And you can see from this chart, about 60% said that each one of these elements, thought leadership, had a positive impact. So their understanding of your brand's values, or your understanding of what your brand stands for, that you understand their needs, vastly improved by your thought leadership. And the understanding of a company's capabilities, again, thought leadership provides a great benefit to your customers, your clients, understanding what you do and what your values are. So overall, it's a very good thing to strive to be a thought leader in your industry. Okay, so this is the framework for kind of largish organizations. I came from very large organizations, and I did value proposition and thought leadership at GE Capital. And then GE spun off Synchrony from its financing business. And I was the VP of thought leadership at Synchrony, really trying to set Synchrony up as a new brand. We had not had a brand, a brand function before, or a brand name that was recognized. And so the goal there was to set Synchrony up as a thought leader in the payments and the retail field. And this is the structure that I created in order to do that. And it's actually repeatable across organizations. So first is the what you want to put out there or publish on thought leadership. And then after that is the how. So in the what, first, it is really beneficial to look across the macro trends or the societal trends impacting your business. What is going on out there that directly impacts your business? So for instance, when I did macro trend studies to analyze this, we discovered that as a financial services brand, people were losing trust in the government, in financial services, in institutions. And it was quite dramatic, the way and the level at which trust was eroded in society. And we tried to then, as realizing this, we tried to have our thought leadership focused on the trust factor even more. You may have a retail business, right? And of course, now there's a great focus on e-commerce and e-tailing. So of course, with the pandemic, a lot of people are very comfortable, much more comfortable now in ordering online, whatever they need, rather than physically walking into a store. So those are the macro trends you have to look at in deciding what kind of thought leadership you put out there. And then second thing, after you've figured that out, the topics of interest to your customer. So for instance, at Synchrony, we were a consumer financing company, but we would sell consumer financing to retailers, to retail organizations. So in our thought leadership, we thought, well, what do retailers want to hear about? So when I wrote white papers and produced infographics, they were focused on the retail industry, not so much on the payments industry, because we wanted to set ourselves up as a thought leader and a strategic partner with retailers. So for your business as well, try to focus on topics and pain points that your customer or your audience is dealing with. And that will attract more attention to the publications that you put out. And the next thing, and just as important, is the strategic pillars of your company. What do you want to stand for? One of my large clients is a sustainability company. They want to stand for sustainable technology. Another company is a payments company, and they want to stand for quick and easy payments after the purchase. A lot of times, people want you to stand for something in this environment, as opposed to just saying, I'm white vanilla, I'll do anything for anyone. So what do you want to stand for as a brand? After you have these three things, then you say, okay, so there are three pillars that I would like to do thought leadership on. So maybe pillar one is sustainability, pillar two is innovation, and pillar three is customer experience. So that leads to, now that you've decided what you want to write about, what are the specific topics you want to put out there, and who will be the spokesperson in your company? Is it always the CEO? Or do you want to show bench strength? Do you want to have the chief technology officer or the chief diversity officer be your thought leader in a particular area? Or is it always the CEO? So that's, again, for large organizations. For very small organization, of course, it's usually the CEO or the very top of the organization. And then we say, how do we say it? What are the formats and what is the media? Formats could be white papers. As Bob introduced, I have done dozens of white papers in various fields, be it biotechnology, payments, and they're all highly visual. And I'll go into that in a little more detail, but really address the pain points and what the customer wants to hear about. Infographics, also do it, say the subject matter in very quick and visual terms. You can have podcasts, webinars, slew of information, digital videos, right? The most impactful formats for your customer. And then you get into media, social media posts, PR, earned media, contributed content, and excuse me, that's when you say, okay, how am I putting out my thought leadership to really resonate to the larger language, or the larger message, rather, that I would like to give to my audience? All right, so 5 steps to establish yourself as a thought leader. I just went through a corporation and how a corporation could set themselves up as thought leaders. But these 5 steps can apply to you if you are just a single person, or they can apply to a large organization. The first thing is research your industry and keep abreast. Make sure you know the most important developments about the industry that you're in. So it's also the industry that your customers are in. Like I said, I was in payments, but the customer was in retail. So it's really about the customer and what the customer wants to hear about. Add data points that attract your customers. So for instance, 42% said the one thing that thought leadership they value the most is highly credible research. So take research data points that you find or you may generate yourself and use that in thought leadership to establish credibility. So this is an example. Half of all small businesses report that they've been the victim of a cyber attack, up from 44% just 2 years ago. Click here for steps to protect yourself from a cyber attack. So when they click there, you would send them to your website, have 5 steps, which is really a great feeder to, establishing a connection with the customer and the prospect. So from there, you could do BD and lead generation activities. Number 2, make a bold statement. A lot of people are afraid of making bold statements. And you know what? It gets you noticed. Not everyone is going to agree with you, but it sets you apart from the crowd. And it shows that you're really thinking about the industry in wider terms. So some examples of bold statements that I've used: the retail industry is on the brink of change we haven't seen in 30 years. Artificial intelligence is the most significant technology of our lifetimes. Again, not everyone may agree with you. It may open up a dialogue or a conversation, but even having a dialogue with people that are not agreeing with you, that even may teach you something and attract attention. Okay, number 3, engage and inspire your audience. So the visual engagement part of thought leadership that you put out, I cannot overestimate how important that is. Right now, people consume content in very different ways than they have in the past. Content is visual, many times it's a video. Some people don't even post on LinkedIn, they put videos on YouTube. So content has to be engaging, visual, and really bring out the most important parts that you want your audience to know right away. Don't make them go digging for what is the most important part of this paper that I'm reading. And some content could be white papers, infographics. I gave you some examples of infographics on the right. Notice how highly visual they are. And it has to, of course, be on brand, but it really is, won't attract a lot of attention if you put out a white paper with small 8-point font and 30 reference points, right? It has to be more engaging than that in today's environment. Definitely utilize summaries, data points, quotes, outtakes, references to interesting tidbits of information. Remember, you want to be engaging. Podcasts. A lot of people listen to podcasts now. I help produce podcasts both for internal audiences and external audiences. You know, you don't have to create the podcast yourself if that's not your thing. But if you have content that is really perfect for podcasts, it's a very good media outlet right now. So another tip, keep it succinct. Get to the point quickly. Again, don't make your audience work too hard to access the real relevant points of data that you want to put out there. And be where your customer is. So social media, you know, you may find that certain social media outlets work for you and others may not. So Facebook, a lot of times I really like Facebook groups. You know, Facebook has very specific Facebook groups. I happen to live in Ridgefield, Connecticut, and I'm part of the Ridgefield Women's Entrepreneurs Leadership Club. That's how specific it gets. But if you have a very niche business, definitely look up if there is a Facebook group you could get involved in to promote your business and to show thought leadership in that group. Instagram, great for highly visual content, really great for direct-to-consumer businesses. And LinkedIn, I am a B2B business, so for B2B businesses, LinkedIn is very good. If if you have a B2B business, you should definitely be active on LinkedIn. Usually for LinkedIn, a little aside tip, there's created content and curated content. So as a thought leader, make sure you're creating content for your audience. You can also curate content, which is sharing or liking or promoting other people's content, and it should be a good mix. But thought leaders, often it's 60-40 or 70-30. Create your content and say something bold, share information, and use those other hints that I had given to you before. Webinars. There are webinars and opportunities to present at organizations, at meetings are a great way to show your thought leadership in the field. And then trade publications. We used to do a lot with trade for retailers. So the trade publications, again, where your customer is really the best place to put your thought leadership out there. So once again, just a little note, ensure you're noticed in the venue that's most used by your customer, your client, or your potential client. And then, of course, differentiate yourself. Add to the conversation. So don't say things that your competitors are also saying. You may want to link or post articles that show that you're connected to the current developments in the field. And many times I see thought leaders be futuristic. Say in 20 years, this is what's going to happen. In 30 years, I forecast this. It's a great way to display your thought leadership, that you're really thinking about what's going to happen, not only today, but in the future. What's going to happen to your industry? What's going to happen to certain companies? And of course, it kind of goes without saying, but don't copy the content of your competitors. Create something that sets you apart. One example of that, an unusual example, I think, is Casper. Casper mattresses, they're a mattress firm, and they deliver the mattress to your house. Their target is millennials. And they have decided early on that they want to be the thought leader on sleep. So it takes their content and it says, we don't just want to be, we produce mattresses. We want to say, when you are, you want information on how to sleep better, come to us. They even have a blog post and a live blog where you can interact with people in the middle of the night at Casper. So their blog posts and online content, if you scroll down, is all about how to get in better night's sleep, not about why you should buy the mattress from us. So that's a great example of being a thought leader in a related field, but one that really your customers are more interested in. And then finally, bring it back to your business goals. Make it easy for the customer to engage and connect with you. Whenever I do a white paper or an infographic, on the bottom, there are links to the website, the LinkedIn, or any social media that the company or my client is active on. For my own posts, I would love to connect with anyone who wants to reach out on LinkedIn. My name is Sue Yasav on LinkedIn, and I regularly post thought leadership tips. So make it easy to connect and then bring it back to your website. Post regularly, link to your website. You may, when you're doing your post, ask a question or start a dialogue. This is the trend that I see. What are other trends that people see related to this? Or do people have, other input or other dialogue? It's how to get noticed on LinkedIn. Be aware of the keywords that people are using to find your business, and use those keywords in your posts, in your blogs and newsletters. It'll help get you found a bit more. And if you do have regular newsletters, podcasts, blogs, always make sure to bring it back to your business, link it to your website, and make it easy to respond directly to you from the newsletter or blog. Don't make people really go searching around for it, because remember, you're doing thought leadership in order to benefit your company. And just a little example here on the right about a post by Ariana Huffington and how she links it to the article and back to her website for maximum impact. All right, so let's say you decide to publish a piece of content and you decide to write a white paper and invest in a white paper or an infographic that displays you as a thought leader in your field. Don't let that content, and white papers can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000. right? Don't let that content just sit there. Make sure you use it to your maximum advantage. So use it for elements of the white paper or infographic for a blog post. Feed it back to the white paper. Newsletter for webinars or workshops or social media posts. So there are a slew of other media that you can use to maximize the impact of creating this original piece of content that uses your thought leadership. So if you invest in a white paper and an infographic, don't let it just sit there. Ensure that it's maximized through external media in all the different channels that are available to you. All right, so to conclude, great thought leadership connects with your customer, articulates your value add and your knowledge. It adds value. Obviously, you're not doing a sales pitch here. It could be for longer sales cycles in order to get into the minds of your customer. It shows your knowledge of the field, and it combines your strategic thinking with a bit of futurism. It's consistent, well thought out, it can be search engine optimized, and it could be easily commented, shared, and ultimately, it should inspire and educate. All right. Oh,
okay.
There we go. All right.
Okay, great, Sue. Thanks very much. That was
Sure.
very, very good. And we are going to use the rest of the time for questions. And just as a reminder to people, if you would like to submit a question, please use the chat feature. You can put your questions in chat, and we'll take as many as we can up until the top of the hour. So just maybe the questions are coming just to start off. One for you. Most of our listeners here and people on the webinar are small business owners, and I think they wrestle with time management. Can you give any comments or guidance on what's a reasonable amount of time to devote to the thought leadership issues you've been speaking about?
Yeah, well, the first thing, I'm a very small business myself, and yet I try to put myself out there all the time. So I totally get it. The first thing you can do is, of course, take the low-hanging fruit. So the first element that you should be active in is social media. So let's say you don't have a lot of time, but you should be out there with your content. And let's say you're a B2B company and you want to put yourself out there in the accounting area. So that's an example. Get out on LinkedIn and start posting one post every week about accounting, about something about your industry that you think your clients would be most interested in. And just put it out, tips at tax season, how to get write-offs, what to think about when you're buying a house, or something that relates to your field that shows that you're thinking about the industry. So that, I would say, is the first thing that you should do. And then if you had like an hour or two every week, set aside the time to post on social media, get yourself out there on a regular basis, use those tips that I sent as posting tips. And the second item is just research your industry. The more you're connected with what's going on in the customer's minds and in the customer's lives, the more relevant the content you produce will appear, and the more people will start thinking of you as an expert in your field. So those are two very easy, simple things.
That's great. We have a question from Monica. I'm in the travel industry, and what platforms can I use to stand apart?
Yeah, in travel, I think if you're direct to consumer, I think Instagram is a wonderful media. The Facebook groups relative to the travel industry, I think I'm a part of those because I can't wait to get traveling again. So definitely Instagram is good because it's very visual. You may want to look at the travel photos that you have taken or that resonate with you and start putting them up along with social media posts about, this is what I learned on this trip. This is what to pack, or different things that will resonate with your clientele.
Perfect. That's great. We have a question from Susan. Would you please speak a little bit more in depth about creating a white paper? I've never done it before, and any suggestions would be appreciated.
Sure. So the first thing that you have to think about when you're creating a white paper is the topic you want to write about and why your audience will want to read this. So pick something that your audience is interested in or trying to figure out. So let's take the example of the travel industry. People want to know if it's safe to travel out there. So you may want to have a white paper saying 5 things you should know about traveling in the fall. When is a good time to travel? So Susan, I don't know what industry you're in, so email me. My email is right here on the screen if you want more tips. But the first thing is address a need or a question or a helpful topic for your customer. The second is gather data points on supporting your position about that topic and make it highly visual. So icons, graphics, photos, that's really what people want to see now in terms of absorbing white paper content.
That's great. Our next question is from Valoria, and she's saying, I'm an end-of-life doula, which is getting a lot of attention because of COVID-19,
Yeah.
and I've been getting requests from the media. At what point should I start asking for payment for my time?
It depends on what you're doing. If the requests from media are getting you new clients and new customers, then I would say, great, keep doing that. If they're not, see how much it's going to benefit you. It's always a trade-off. The same thing about presenting at conferences and webinars. It's great to get out there because at least they're asking for you, and that in and of itself should add value. Remember, if you're being quoted in media, always use that as an opportunity to share it with your audience. So put it in your newsletter. I was quoted in this newspaper, and this is what they said, and this is why I said that. So it's a great opportunity. The media rarely, I think, pays for, at least the ones that I know, pays for it. But even if they don't, I think it's great to be asked to speak in media, but you need to use it to your advantage in your business. I mean, at the end of the day, we're kind of doing this in order to make money, right? So you want to use it to promote yourself a bit as well.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. We have a follow-up question from Felicia on white papers. Can white papers be short and succinct? I always thought a white paper meant extensive research and backup information to that.
Yeah, I know, right? That's kind of what we have in the back of our minds. White papers are this, tiny little writing, and they're too long, and nobody ever really wants to read them. Yes, of course, they could be short and succinct. They can be 2 or 3 pages. You don't even need to call it a white paper. I posted on LinkedIn about, the why do a white paper, and I got a couple of comments like, oh my God, no, it's too long. It'll take too long. But a white paper can just be a position paper, a strategy paper, if you want to call it that. So yes, it can be 2 or 3 pages. It can be more like an infographic, intersperse the graphics in with writing on the side. That's very impactful.
So I've also had some SCORE clients myself who have written white papers, and then they use the content from that in multiple ways to post shorter versions on social media and whatnot. So you can get
Absolutely.
quite a bit of mileage out of a white paper.
Right. Another thing about white paper, Bob, is that you can have it gated. So you could have it on your website where you post, let's say, a teaser feed on social media saying, to see more in the white paper, click here. When they click, they go to your website, and that they have to give you their email address in order to access the full-on white paper. I've seen it done that way. Some people are very comfortable with it, some people are not, but it's a strategy to get their contact information.
Okay, great. We have a question from Tim on press releases. Do you think press releases, example, Yahoo Finance, add credibility or case studies?
Absolutely. Very good suggestion. Press releases are an excellent way to get yourself out there. If you're introducing a new product, if you've come up with a new innovation, a new technology, absolutely excellent way to get yourself out there with press releases and media kits.
Great. A question from Julie on videos. When creating thought leader videos, what is the length of time for video that's most effective?
Yeah, great question about that. I am not a proponent of doing very long videos. So I would say for thought leadership videos, get your thoughts out there in 10 to 15 minutes. Same for podcasts. You can have long form podcasts and videos, but make sure you don't repeat yourself and you say something constructive and helpful throughout the entire video. So it really depends on what you're putting out there and what you're talking about, but definitely be succinct, as I said in one of the slides. It's much, especially if you're dealing with a complicated subject matter, it's much easier to detail everything you know about the subject than to simplify and net out the most important points. And a thought leader nets it out for us, says there's this huge topic, but I'm going to tell you the top 5 things.
Julie also had a follow-up question on press releases, which is how do you do a press release?
Well, if you have a company who has a PR organization, they put it out on various media. I have to admit, I am not the expert in press releases, but I would contact a PR person and a PR agency and get their advice. So if you'd like to be referred to a PR agency, please email me and I'll be happy to refer you to somebody.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Comment from Marianne saying, Sue, Canva.com is a great simple resource to create infographics and white papers. So just passing on some information.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up.
And also from Marianne, how often would you suggest doing videos? Do you have any suggestion on frequency?
It kind of runs the gamut, right? I know of a content producer who is very popular on YouTube and Instagram, and she says you have to be out there at least 3 times a week. It depends on your content. I'm not out there 3 times a week. I do posts generally on Thursdays, Thought Leadership Thursday, and I do it once a week. So it really depends. If you have something to say and you can add value, do it as consistently as you possibly can. The bad thing is to start and then stop. So consistency is important. Content is hugely important. Don't put something out there just to, oh my God, today I'm so busy. I just need to get something out just so I can say I did it. So as long as you have good content to put it out as much as you feel comfortable. But it really depends on your business and what you have to say.
Okay. That's great. Just on the topic of press releases, Tim was passing on some information that if you do a press release on Yahoo Finance, cost is about $200. So that's just some information.
Okay, there you go. Thank you, Tim.
And our next question is from Lynn. Where do you start with a mature business that's in need of a refresh?
Well, I would say go back to your value proposition. Go back to what is it about your business that will attract customers. So I have given a value prop webinar on SCORE. Was it a week ago, Bob? I think it was a week or so ago, a week or two ago?
About 10 days ago, yes.
About 10 days ago, okay.
And that webinar is up on our website and our YouTube channel.
So yeah, for a lot of brands, after the age of COVID, a lot of brands need refresh. So I also work with businesses on their value proposition. So that entails market research, competitive differentiation, what your company wants to stand for, and combining those things in order to really create a value prop for today's market that really makes you attractive to your target audience. So reach out if you have any questions about that. You can email me. I can send you the link to the SCORE webinar, or you could just log on to the SCORE website and find it.
Okay. That's great. Just a reminder, we do have lots of time here. So if you have questions, you can use the chat feature at the bottom of the screen, and we'll take as many as we can up to the top of the hour. Maybe one for you, Sue, is that you've talked a lot about how to do thought leadership and the activities. Do you have any thoughts around how you measurements of success and how you know that you're being effective? Like, how do you do that, for your own business, for example?
Thank you for asking that. And I should have thought to put that in the presentation. I'm in a lot of thought leadership organizations and groups, professional groups, and we discuss that a lot. How do you measure thought leadership? And of course, thought leadership is very much related to content, right? So you can measure content. You can say, how many likes did I get? How many people saw my post in the feeds? How many comments? And you could even probably try to track your social media presence to the leads and the clients that you've gotten, right? That's content. Thought leadership is harder to measure. Thought leadership means you put the thought in someone's mind that you're an expert in your field. So eventually, when they're ready to hire, they look to you, or you're in the consideration set. Much harder to track because, I don't know if you've seen the movie Inception, you have to go back to the inception of when did they first find you, right? So it's a very good question. It's something that my colleagues and I struggle with. We know it's a good thing to put yourself out there as a thought leader, but the exact measurement of when the client saw you as a regular presence and a regular thought leader in a certain topic, and when they actually said, you know who does this really well? You know who's really connected in this industry? This person. And they actually call you, find you, and hire you. It's more of a step-by-step process.
That's great. Doesn't look like we have any other additional questions at this time. So
Okay.
I think what we'll do is, just as a reminder, this webinar has been recorded, and as just like Sue's last one. And if you want to access that, the materials should be up on our website within about 48 hours or so. And you can go there and you can get this webinar or any other webinar that we have that's on demand there. Our next live webinar, though, will be next Tuesday, March 30th at noon. And as I mentioned previously, the topic is more clients, less marketing, create more leads and income by doing less, with Mary Kravitz presenting. And again, if you would like to take advantage of free counseling, if I could ask Sue to move the slide, you can use the bit.ly link that you see on the screen, or you can go to our website and click on the Request a Mentor link, And if I could also ask you to please fill out your evaluations at the end of the webinar. They do really help us going forward. So in closing today, Sue, thank you very much for a great presentation and sharing
Thank
your
you.
insights. And stay well, everyone, and have a great day.
Okay, take care, everyone. Thank
Okay.
you.